Grüezi, hallo und
Well, hello everyone, and a hearty welcome to our fourth Habegger Academy webinar. Once again with English interpretation, and we would like to thank our company Syntax for making this possible. So today's topic is interaction. Exactly, and our aim is not just to show as many tools as possible, but also to demonstrate, to go more in depth and to explain how the integration can be used for your events in a digital or in a physical event. So we have enough experience for the physical event and also digital and hybrid events. And we do so by first speaking about essential things. We would like to give you an overview about the interaction tools. We would like to divide them. Well, this will try to categorize them, a categorization that we have made. And then, of course, we will have a look at a few of them and see how we can integrate these or include these to make something really wonderful. And in the end, we will speak about gamification of interaction. And we are really looking forward to show you a world premiere, a tool that has been finalized for today in order to play, to try together. So we're not just going to look at the tools, but something that is new, but we would also like to try out new things and just have a look at them together and see how that is going to work out with the interaction. And so even if you're not 100% sure, it doesn't matter. That's what the webinar is here for. And so we are going to try it and we are going to do it. Do you have any special wishes regarding the webinar today or any questions that you would like to pose from the very beginning? Then just click below your live stream. You will find some blue buttons, and so you can find the survey tool button, and it will open a new Slido window, and there you can indicate what you hope to take from today's webinar. And then with these answers, we will try and, or let's say with these questions, we will try and find all the answers and collect them together in order to inform you. So let's go to the next topic. I mean, we've been carrying through this webinar now for the fourth time, and so we have the 4 pillars here as a basis. So to say, the events that make up a digital event. So I will repeat. So platform was the first pillar. So the location where you can meet, so the platform, the digital homepage, and then afterwards we spoke about content during the very first webinar that we had. So we found out that content is really key, it's essential, it's important, and also, so these first 2 pillars would be nothing else than homepages, websites. But then the third pillar, the live stream, the moment in which that you are now experiencing right now, this is what gives the extra touch. This is what a live event or a hybrid event is all about. And then we also showed you a few examples of how we can go about this. And today we would like to concentrate on the topic of interaction. Definitely one of the most important elements for digital and hybrid events, but also for physical events as well. Interaction, meaning interacting together, doing something together, granting the public the possibility to express themselves. And so there are various methods of interaction. So there's interaction between the audience and the stage for physical events, and in digital events you have the spectators. And then, of course, the organizers. So we've got a lot of things to show you in this respect. And this is, so to say, what has become more the trend right now or lately. And so the second type of interaction is, let's say, the classic networking, meaning mingling together. And so what could we recommend? How do we go about it? What tools exist? We will also be discussing about this in more detail, because during the past 7 months, a lot has been going on, so we have a lot to tell you. And so interaction in principle is not something that just happens by itself, but it has to be looked at more in depth, because there is another element of interaction. Is it an interaction on the platform? So the first pillar that we had to look at, or is it interaction on a second screen, for example, your mobile phone or a tablet. So we know this from the physical events as well. So the spectators, we've asked them to take their mobile phones. It's also a phenomenon that's well known. So the platform is somewhat new. So there, once again, you can use this for interactions, and we will see how we can use it to a more advantageous manner. So interaction. What is actually interaction in principle? Well, we have the word that comes from Latin, which is composed of two Latin words. So you've got the inter, between, and you have actio, activity, action. And so action equals reactions. I think this principle, you have to take that at heart when you're organizing an event, because it's a type of communication, and it shouldn't just be a one-way, a unilateral communication. I would like to emphasize it shouldn't just be there for entertainment of people. We let the people also participate so that they can do something. Interaction means that you want to provoke a reaction. It should generate something that, meaning, gives added value to the audience who has reacted. It sounds a bit trivial, but in the details, there is something behind this. It means it should incite someone to reflect more in depth. And so we will talk about this later, and we will see how we can improve interaction so that it does become relevant. So in any case, the interaction is something is also integrated, or should be integrated, in our three other pillars. So it should start with the first platform. There, the spectators should be able to feel we are speaking to you, we are addressing issues that are of importance to you, and we would like to have your reaction to this. We want to have your reaction. We ought to act with you, interact with you. And also in terms of content, perhaps you will also respond to choose something among the content. And so this is also very relevant. And last but not least, also on live streams, perhaps interaction could also provoke a reaction. And for this, we have prepared a little installation here. So you have the possibility to press the confetti buttons here, these clickers, where you were able to vote. And via these confettis, you can go to our installation and then you can augment or increase then this clicker number. So our producers have already set 11,500 clicks. So if you can click 11,500 times, in that case, it will launch a confetti cannon on our side. So your reaction at home should, or your action at home rather, should provoke a reaction over here. So you can see how many are already clicking. And so we have already begun with the countdown. So we will see how many clicks are still needed in order to reach our objective. And maybe we will have this lovely rain of confettis. So if it's done too early, so perhaps our audience will be absolutely bored. So, and if it's too late, well, it would mean that not enough participants have contributed. Well, that's just a hypothesis. So I would like to see where this leads to, so that we could have this launch of confetti. Well, we're waiting for it. We've been waiting since the first webinar for this event. So let's have a look together now of your results. So what have you entered in Slido? What are your expectations regarding today's webinar? And today we have a few, let's say, great terms. So new ideas, inspiration, inputs, ideas for interaction, motivation, incentives, impulses, really very a great range, let's say, of various topics, so lots of inspiration and ideas and tools that await you. And I hope that you will have a very good overview and that you will be inspired to participate in this interaction. That's what we all hope. Motivation, yes. I mean, you need it in order to work. You need it in order to, audition. And so maybe we could, have some creation in a funny and gameful manner. So I think this motivation is something very positive. It also means at the same time that you want to use this interaction. And so there are certain points that you need to be aware of, ideally. So a couple of steps that we have defined. So you've got the tools on one hand that you can choose from, and then one of the central questions, the use. Why are we using interaction? What's a very decisive aspect? And also technical aspects. Are there such that you need to use or to respect in order to have this interaction done? So we can separate these into 4 categories. And these categories, we'll talk about them later. Well, these categories are numerous, and it needs to be said that over the last year, a few tools in these categories have been included or new, and some have been more, let's say, popular. And these tools are always continuously developed, and let's say there are some features that are added, which means that the tools are also capable of doing more and more. They have more characteristics, more features, but it also means that they are more and more capable of doing the same things. So they're not fixed. Oh, what's happening now? That sounds like the confetti bomb is coming. Yes. Is that true? Yes, it is. How long did it take? No, not 10 minutes. No, not quite 10 minutes. No, I was quite surprised myself. Look at this. So the interpretation means that our audience has participated with lots of clicks. Thank you very much. So 11,500 clicks. I hope it worked well. So let's say the conclusion of this is, if you ever want to do something, then do rely on the fact that your spectators can click even more than the number that we have predefined. So, yes. Well, if you don't click, you can't vote or you can't choose anything. So you were right in the middle of it. So we were speaking about the tools so that I can find my way back. So this, let's say, the limits or the borders between these categories is sort of like overflowing or flowing from one to another because they seem to be doing similar things. So the first category I think you know them already. You've already used Slido. There are lots of brands here that have wonderful functions. And then the second, we have the so-called collaborative tools or collaboration tools with workshops where we can work together in smaller groups. And the first type was voting tool. And then we have the social tools as the third category. Providers who like to network people or connect people together with icebreakers to help people who don't know each other yet so that they can find their way through a conversation. And then last but not least, we have the game tools or gamification tools, as we call them also. So where you have a more, let's say, gaming aspect. And so we would like to speak about this particularly later on. So let's come back to the use of interaction. So you said interaction. So you notice that when the interaction isn't very high, it means that people are only, participating half-heartedly. So what do we want first? Well, we want to collect data, for example. Yes, of course, it's a bit, in our own interest because one knows that events or event organizers they can collect information on the participants, and it's, they need to use that in order to have any benefit from it. And it perhaps shows who also participates at all. A second use, which is a very important one that could be maybe a bit underestimated, is and to think about things, and with the aim for the spectators to have as many takeaways as they wish to have, and then of course let's say social use. Sometimes people would like to just be networking, and physically especially, it's one of the core principles or core objectives for the event. And last but not least, besides the gathering of information, didactic benefits, social interaction, it's also fun and playful. It's also a very important factor. It should be fun for participants to contribute, so you can also use it for team building, just to make sure that nothing is forgotten, such as our golden rain here with the confetti. So what's most important is that it's fun for the people, and that you also plan enough time for people to be able to play. So let's come to the last points that will help you to, let's say, address the target group as best. So first, you have to know, the number of people participating in the group, so the size of the group. How can you organize this interaction? It's much easier, of course, with smaller groups than with 500 people. Are you going to use a platform or a second screen by doing so? So those are thoughts or reflections that you need to take into consideration upon choosing the tool. And then a second screen has to do with security as well. How easy is it to access a certain platform? And those are topics that you also need to think of. And last but not least, the anonymous audience. A lot of our clients would like to have the interaction done on an anonymous basis, because they don't want to reveal their identity. For example, a client event, it could be the case. Perhaps if you have a staff event or something, that's different, because the people already know who the others are, or perhaps one wants to know who the other is who is expressing this opinion. So you can implement these things, but if you can choose the right interaction, it will be an added value for your event. I am very pleased now to invite Christoph Runde in our round digitally. Hello, Christopher. Hi. So the show registers since 15 years, with lots of experience in the physical events and also in the digital event domain. How many digital events did you organize, Christopher? Yes, 15 events over the past 7 months, from 0 to 100 in digital. So we would like to talk about the use, and also go more in depth in the tools and see how we can use them. So we are going to begin with the gathering of information. So information benefit, you've done it already with Slido. You've worked also with Mentimeter, and then there's also Poll Everywhere and the like. And you've already used our Slido, as I said. And these are the ones that we have used during the time when we were meeting physically, meaning when these tools were already known to the spectators, and that led them to vote for whatever event was going on the stage. And so it's a good moment to bring together the two audiences, so the digital and the physical one, in order to create something new. One nice tool, which in this sense has shown lots of benefits, is not only using the voting, but to give a feedback directly to the audience, so that they can rate something. For example, you've got in Slido the possibility to enter some words, and here you can just press on ideas, here above. And so now you can just type in your ideas. So you can type them in and then you can send them. And others who now are also in that tool, they have the possibility to rate it, for example, to like it or dislike it, think, yes, I think that's a wonderful idea. I really want to implement it as well. I would like for this to be a topic that's going to be discussed, or perhaps an idea that should be pushed further. So through this or via this rating, it's not just the facilitator, presentator who are going to collect all this data and bring it together, but the audience, the spectators are helping certain ideas to be promoted. And so if you think of earlier days when we were using flip charts in order to collect ideas and do this brainstorming and then allocate or attribute some points, well, I think that this tool of gathering information and having people rate, I think is a wonderful possibility for events. Is it really being used in the digital world, Christopher? Oh, yes, in any case, yes. I mean, liking, sharing is something that we do in our private lives as well, and it's so easy to do. And once a great number of people, meaning a mass of people, are interested in something, you can be sure that that's the point that's going to attract the most attention. So the second aspect for this idea of gathering information is not just the rating and then giving a feedback. You heard it via anonymous or non-anonymous. There are new possibilities that are open. For example, during the voting thing, you know where the answer came from, who was the person who expressed this opinion. So there are lots of possibilities that can be questioned or asked in a profile. And then you have the possibilities of building clusters. So, for example, we've got a survey here. How do you find the moderation, let's say the presentation of this webinar? So you've got on a scale of from 1 to 5, you can see here the results, the cluster. So by knowing who it is, I could, for example, know, for example, who comes from my home canton of Thurgovia. And so what does it look like in the canton of Thurgau? Well, so these are, let's say, my home country fellows who like our presentation. And perhaps we have the possibility with big data to have another evaluation of the voting results and make them visible. Yes, I mean, it's really taking it to the next level, and that's what's going to be the future. At the moment, it's rather rare because the complexity is much greater for the tools that are presently existing. So actually what we're doing is that we have new impulses, new incentives. So we don't want to, convey what people already know, because the most surveys that we carry through, the results are so foreseeable. And it's not really surprising. It doesn't bring anything new. So it means boring in the end. And what we want is inspiration. But what we do is we include the context in the event in general. What you can do, for example, is you can ask one and the same question several times. It sounds boring, but just imagine the process. So first, let's say at 2 p.m., we ask one question, and then we'll say, OK, we've got new information. We're going to change a few parameters. And then we'll just ask the same question again. And then you can see, oh, there's going to be a change of opinion, or perhaps even not. And then we can try that again, enrich in change management, process and change. What do we want to change? We want to continue to develop, to grow. And that's really interesting. And if we could make an assessment or, let's say, evaluation, and then you have, let's say, clusters in 25 to 30 years. Well, we will think this way, and the older generations don't want to change anything. So there's lots of new and exciting impulses, or let's say incentives. So you see, with very simple tools, you have the possible to make information relevant to you and to take it to the next level. So that was the informative use. So tools for the informative use. So the second use, if you remember, it was the didactic added value. Just a moment, I have to click. Didactic benefit, here we go. So what does a tool need to do in order to support efficient learning? Well, it has to be very versatile and it has to be informative. So these tools offer lots of possibilities to reflect something that's been known, learned, or to test things that have been learned that are known. It sounds a bit like school and exams, but these tools do offer very exciting aspects and gives a lot more pep and less, let's say, fear of exams. And there are two aspects that are important to us, or that these tools are required to know, meaning so that we can add fun to that. So how do we include more fun in learning? Well, these tools have features such as stories. Perhaps you can make some kind of a contest. Who is the quickest? Who can do more? These kind of aspects. It's the sort of, let's say, the game aspect that makes the whole thing much more entertaining. But what's important is that you can have a scaling of everything, upscale or downscale, or maybe have an event of several days, and then with various challenges for an entire match, or let's say contest. Or perhaps you'd simply like to have various levels of interaction and learning. For certain target groups, it could be relevant to have a more competitive nature in your tool. And a tool that is able to unify all those aspects is Kahoot. And Kahoot over the past years, or during the past year, has changed from a school learning platform, has moved on to a business event platform. It's a very comprehensive tool that offers lots of features, can also be individualized, and it means that you can really choose the right level for your didactic benefit for your target group. What the tool also needs to be able to do, and Kahoot can do it, is so that the organizer can see and can also evaluate what people have learned or not. Because if something has not been learned well enough, it means that there's probably need for more improvement or for repetition in the afternoon. So we're back to this big data story. Yes, here again, Kahoot offers certain possibilities. It's not really a big data tool, but it does have features that go in that or that align with that. One didactic benefit is that we want to elaborate, let's say, content together. And here we would like to show you another tool, so a visual collaboration tool, and that would be Miro. It's a tool that we ourselves use very often at Habegger for think tanks and workshops, especially when together we need to elaborate certain contents. So we see here that we view it as a tool that you can use for an event for staff or for brainstorming, breakout sessions and the like. And the tool has lots of cool features. You always see who is where or who is working on what at a particular moment, and there are really groups where that can be led. You can gather participants together in a group, for example. I'm sorry, I can't see that far. Did you already start the timer? Yes. And it also has a timer here below if you want to pass on to a voting session. And so you can really work and continue to develop things. So these collaboration tools also offer video conference possibilities, so they're really able to do lots of things. But you can see that these tools are more used in smaller groups, and the bigger the group, the more difficult it becomes to, let's say, control the whole thing. But perhaps you can just have people working in breakout sessions after each other, not all together at the same time. So we see there are already people who have found that link and who for the link to the Mirror tool, you will find it just below the live stream, and we would like to test it now. What is possible in this environment of working together? So we have already begun or initiated something very creative. Just continue to build this house and see if you would like to contribute. So here at the links, you can use sticker notes or to choose, select them, and then you will then have the choice of a palette of colors. And then when you click on that, you will have the stickers in that particular color. And all you need to do is click to the left, and you can add your colored stickers. You can increase, decrease, you can delete, or you can add something. And if you feel like it, while you are listening, just continue to work on this house. And then in the end, we will see what it looks like at the end. So we don't know. We have 170 persons using the tool who are helping to create this landscape. So we will have a look at it at the very end to see what the result is. So have lots of fun so you can still continue to work in a concentrated manner, even though you're doing this in parallel. So Christopher, I have a question. This didactic benefit, how do you experience it on a daily basis, especially for greater events? Is it really used? Well, most of the people use a quiz because it's so easy for the participants. They know how it works. So that's a good prerequisite. But what could be optimized is the way that the questions are posed. For example, it depends on the context, of course. So either it's a very simple to find a question that can be answered by correct or false. Well, it's not always that easy. So sometimes we take people for granted. And so if I look at online for SVF2 with the greatest price or award of Portugal. And so they give two choices, and so you don't know really. So if the presentator always spoke about Portimao, for example, even my 11th-year-old would say, do they think we're stupid? Because you can hear the answer every 5 minutes. So you always have to, communicate at eye level with the audience and not make things too easy either. But what's also very decisive is how does the audience think of certain process? Sound seems to be a technical. Okay, and that's interesting. Sound is back. So if we find the right level for the questions and also have the right, let's say, target audience, I think it should function quite well. What is your experience? Yes, in any case, I mean, the registrar's heart would be very pleased if, if he can put something into a scene. It's much more interesting to work with colors and lights than to work with a PowerPoint presentation. What's also very important is that the quiz is used in order to repeat or to have the answers of what has already been sent. But you can also learn by using the quiz because to commit an error and then to discuss this afterward also has its learning effect. So it doesn't have to be, of competitive nature. Sometimes you have losers and winners, but then you would like to know who is going to win against whom. For example, management against the staff. It could be interesting for the employees or employees who then assume the role of someone in management. It could be an inspiration. Maybe for your next event, it's something that you would like to have. So plan it, and then we will help you make it great so that it becomes a very interesting moment. Thank you, Christopher. So we are coming back to our last benefit that we would like to illustrate. So it's the social interaction, meaning the exchange, something that we had spoken about in the first webinar 7 months ago. Well, a lot has happened in the meantime, so we have spoken about it very often. On these coffee tables on the platform, we have a new coffee table tool that we'd like to show you. It's from this platform called Flav from Austria, already implemented with these visual possibilities here. where you can just dive in. You could just click and see, all right, table 6, oh, there will be a topic here. So you've already got 3 participants here. And so I go, I connect, and then I want to see what they're talking about. And then I'm here in this, let's say, area, in this arena that offers only a few places and makes it easier to discuss with the others. So Aline from backstage and Sandhya is joining us here. And so we can even use the camera tool, the video tool. And so we've created a networking area where we can exchange ideas, where we can speak via video, where we can chat or even exchange data. If the number of participants has been reached and no one else can join, but it's done randomly, let's see. So it doesn't matter, you just continue within the small group. And this could perhaps also be an interesting tool for your event. It's not the only possibility we have here on this platform. There are many other possibilities that can be offered. Christopher, what else can you do on such platforms for social interaction? Well, the easiest thing to do is to create small groups with Zoom, WebEx, the breakout sessions. 5 to 7 people is the ideal size for a group to create such, let's say, positive interaction. Of course, you also need an icebreaker to lead, to help, or once again, matchmaking, big data, what are the common interests, who would feel at ease with others in order to start a discussion. I mean, those are good prerequisites already. We have a second tool we have launched, and a few of you are already in there. It's no longer an old tool. It's actually rather a young tool. It didn't exist 7 months ago, so a young community from Germany programmed it for themselves and have made it available to the public. It's called WonderMe. So there's a link. It's a social tool where you can use an avatar that you can move from right to left. So there are certain security obstacles to overcome. You have to also grant access for your microphone. But once you've gone through all these settings, you can go and move about in this WonderMe environment. This is, for example, a second screen application. So you can see the possibility. I can move my little avatar. And when someone comes close to me, then we are like in a bubble together here. So I see Raphael Henk, who has approached me. And if his camera were turned on, then we could see each other and we could speak with each other. And so these are new possibilities of meeting other people, meaning via such a platform, because I move from one table to the other, so to say. I have a lot more possibilities here to mingle with others and to see what is interesting. I've got 2 zones here. I love interaction and I love digital to the right. And so I can just move here to this bubble where there are already 2 people and see if they will let me in. I even recognize a few faces here, and so you come into a completely different, let's say, group. And if you want to have a closed group, then you can just click on this little lock here above at the right. There might be certain reasons for wanting a more confidential zone. And so anyone who would approach our bubble could not enter. Of course, I can always leave, or I'm free to leave the bubble as I please. So we've got quite a few people participating already. And so this platform is going to stay open. So following our webinar, you can continue to test this platform if you've got time at hand. What we can say also, it's a second screen application, as I said before. So of course, it's not implemented in a platform, but it's possible that your company will not grant you access via your let's say, device or your company computer because for security reasons. So it's something you need to clarify with your IT department before. to see if you can have access to that tool. It's also a tool that we will look at later. And as I said, it will remain open following our webinar. So now we are coming to the, let's say, peak of our interaction categories. So we're talking about gamification. Gamification is a word that we hear very often, but what does it mean exactly? Well, the definition of gamification says that gamification is when you design non-gaming activities with a playful element. Interactions often have something slightly playful about them, but we see that the level of gamification is only attained or reached when the viewer, or let's say rather the player, is enticed with goals that are also used in gaming. So you speak about rewarding systems. Rewarding people is something absolutely natural. It's something that pleases with other incentives using wins, leaderboards, competitions, excitement, and time limits. So all these things that make that the game becomes interesting. So gamification for various uses. Very often, gamification has a certain didactical benefit, for example, as for Kahoot. Each application has a learning effect, a gaming effect, and that's what makes gamification the more interesting. So anyone who wants to use it has to verify that their target group is technically capable of using it, of knowing how to go about it, how to cope with it. There are certainly also moments that are more, let's say, suitable, for example, for staff events or events lasting several days. That would be very suitable. And also, importantly, plan enough time for the game to unfold its effect. It would be a shame if you were just, stressing through and you don't have the effect that you wish to have through gaming. I mean, that's what we're doing, actually. We're really just rushing from one interaction tool to the other because we wish to show you all so that you can experience them on your own afterwards. So with gamification, one needs to bear in mind that it's not just a toy, it could also be another kind of game. What we have been doing in the physical world for a long time, but in the digital world, we will call it a selfie. So we ask the spectators to please send a selfie of themselves, and that will create a certain interaction. So the question, what is the reaction to this interaction? And so there are various possibilities. One that we already like to use is we make a film out of all these selfies, and which, for example, tells a certain story. But also in post-communication, something that we can use to show, well, everybody here was present, and then we change it into a mosaic, and that illustrates such a picture, for example. So that's one of the possibilities that we can use. But perhaps with the selfies, you can also create a content. Many, perhaps you would grant tasks or allocate tasks, like the Ice Bucket Challenge. That it was really surprising how that went viral worldwide. And then so we give tasks combined with that selfie. You don't always have to just, empty a bucket of water or ice water over your head. It could be another task, for example, make a selfie that looks very similar to this painting, for example. So if this is connected to your event or to your topic, it could be something very fun. It could also be a challenge that went viral and was very fun to look at, especially the examples that we saw on the internet. Christopher, what about you? Can you tell us something about the selfies or what you use for contest ideas? I'd like to come back to the user-generated content. It works quite well, and people are ready to film themselves or make selfies or do something to participate, and the people like to see this in events. But do be sure that you have enough time, because it's critical. So if you have a 2-hour event, do something so that at the end it can be presented. That's not really enough time if you really want to make something pretty or make something elegant. So it's easier said than done. What we have done also is just to create a new level. For example, we were speaking about Easter eggs. So what we mean by that are just small errors. So during the interviews, we had, for example, a break, and then they took off the ties. And so we thought we're going to build in or include a few surprises, and then a few minutes later. So what was our Easter egg, so to say? So they showed the pictures. So the ladies took off their scarves and exchanged it for another scarf, colored differently, and then the men took off their ties. So that was it. And the resonance, let's say, to this kind of gameful event was very good. I was a bit skeptical, but, it's always a question of culture and how the reactions of the people are. But it was fun. It was fun, indeed. Thank you very much, Christopher. Of course, there are also tools that one can play with. I mean, even real-time tools, meaning that everyone participates. So one works, you've probably heard of that before. When you have a physical event, you're together, and then via a system, you have to make a goal with a football or maybe throw an airplane or something. We've got a tool. Together now, we would like to launch a rocket. So that is a real-time tool. So it means here is the rocket, and you all have the possibility via your iPhone or your second screen to steer this rocket. So you can steer it to the right or to the left, and depending how many clicks have been done, then it will continue to fly in a certain direction and to collect stickers. So we're talking about swarm technology, meaning the more click to the left, it will go to the left, and the more to the right then. And so all these real-time games have one disadvantage. They have to be played in real time. And although today we are in real time and it's already 2:15, it's not really effectively real time. You see us with a slight delay of 20 seconds, and this delay makes these real-time games not playable, because once you press, something should happen immediately, and that is not the case here. Although it's great fun to use such technology in the digital stream, for now it's just a thing of, it's just impossible. But we have other opportunities, for example, to play in a tool such in Zoom or in Teams or whatever they're called. And so this rocket game, we would like to test it together now. When we go and move on to our Q&A session, stay in our Zoom session that you will find just below the live stream. You can click to the Zoom session, and there we would first like to test this real-time game with the rocket and see how it reacts, if it's going to please the audience, and we'll see how relevant it becomes. So we will do that during our Q&A session in Zoom. May I just add something very quickly? So although these games are an energizer and for people and they are fun, it has to be within a certain context of the event. I mean, because if you have a management meeting, you don't want your managers playing with airplanes and rockets, because it's not relevant for their meeting. So first you have to reflect very well, how am I going to include, or let's say the steps that will lead to such a game. Is it going to be boring? Is it going to be fun? Oh, there's still, don't just include games for the sake of including games, but think first as the whole process that could lead it, and that's when it's becomes sensible to include the game. Very important input. Thank you very much. So we have received lots of questions, and we would like to use the time at hand, although we are a bit late. We'd like to answer some questions. So the first question is, we heard that Oh, the question has disappeared suddenly. I think it was about how to make sure that WonderMe can be something useful. Well, you have to clarify this. Which servers do these second screen apps run, and if it's compatible with the philosophy of your company because of the security aspects. So security is an important aspect to be considered. It depends on the browser as well, and also software dependent. We had an event with Teams, and with 10 presentators in Teams, the, let's say, visibility wasn't very good. It didn't, certain things worked for certain people and others didn't work for others. So, and then there are some bug fixes and such a version and such a version. There are so many various browsers. So first verify before you choose to use WonderMe. Check whether your browser is compatible with it. What we also see very often is interaction regarding tools. Well, you need to define also the number of participants. Well, you saw Slido where we had a lot of people participating. So you speak about a black hole. We don't know exactly how many people were participating. There were 2 parts. So that's the other thing, the other reflection you need to do is how many participants can participate. And when you say, what if this happens? Is it going to be embarrassing or no? You have video on demand, for example. You've got a film that you can run later and then it will generate more interest from the audience. So you can choose whenever you want to show something. And if it is deemed something wonderful, then you can use it. And if not, then maybe you need to change the tool according to the appreciation of your public, so that doesn't become an issue. Perhaps I could also add that it could be very well that you know that 50 people will be looking at your stream or are following your event and only 2 are participating or interacting. I think it's important to verify, well, why was this the case? Or was this a technical project that we didn't take into consideration? That or was the interaction not interesting enough, or it didn't, wake interest? Or I mean, there's a lesson learned so that you can improve for next time. Another question, isn't it too distraction? I just played with the collaboration tool and I wasn't listening to you any longer. So how do you go about this? Because then you lose the interest of your audience, don't you? No, definitely. You first need to see what is sensible. I mean, what are the expectations of the audience and what was the result? Yes, it was a very good lesson learned. So first they launch the confettis and then they start playing games. Well, the digital topic, it means sometimes you're participating and then suddenly you're gone. Well, distraction is there. So don't be distracted too much by those things. So if you want to listen, so if we're able to answer your question, we hope it was fruitful photo, but we would like to conclude. So look at mural. Let's see what happened here. As we mentioned at the very beginning, we've got a whole forest here, and then we've got an automobile. So I know where our guests were. So I recognize this car. It belongs to an American investor. Perhaps he's also participating and using this surface. Something that I would like to say, sometimes with such a great number of participants and what the effective use is, it's difficult to establish. Well, this was an experiment here. We just wanted to see what happens if so many people go to the mural and participate, especially if they don't have any guidelines. And it was really interesting to see what has come out of it, what the outcome is. And so what we would like to say right now is that these tools grant lots of leeway, especially for smaller groups, especially for longer lasting workshops, and for groups that are led. And groups, or let's say tools such as Mural can be used for such groups. So we have come to the end of our fourth webinar, so the fourth pillar. So we have come to the conclusion of our webinar, at least prior to the summer holiday. So if you want to have more, please let us know. Write it down in the surveys. Just contact us. Let us know what topics you would like to know or learn more about and that we should present. We had lots of fun to create these broadcast these 4 webinars and to experience everything together with you and to have such a great audience participate and to listen what your feedbacks were and to learn lots of new things. Below the live stream, you will find the 2 buttons with the contact form that you can fill in to contact us if you wish. And if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to do so. And we also have a feedback form that you can fill in. And the replay will be launched or released next week, at the beginning of next week. And if you have any other issues, then please contact us via our website. So that's it on my behalf. So those who want to continue with the game, we can then move on to our Zoom session. As I said, the link below, just click it. And for the others, I wish you a lovely week. And Christopher, thank you for being with us today, and also to my colleagues backstage who made this event possible. Thank you very much, and to my colleague here, and thank you to our spectators, and have a wonderful week, and see you another time.